the basic introduction to the health postures. In each one, the standing postures are usually divided into two groups. One is called health postures, the other combat postures. Actually, there was no term health postures until maybe 1950s generally, when Wang Xiangjai started teaching in hospitals, and the people there were learning the most basic postures. Because they were practicing for health, those basic postures were called health postures. Before that, it was just basic postures. So-called health postures are just the most basic postures, while so-called combat postures are those which are a bit more advanced. So we always start from so-called health postures, even if you want to learn each one as a martial art, because they are not just for health, but to build some basis for further training. First three health postures, basic postures, which I will teach you are Tuo Bao Zhuang, Zheng Bao Zhuang, and Xuxi Zhuang. Before I start talking about the mind activity while keeping those postures, standing in those postures, first some very basic introduction. We could start from natural posture, which could be called Zizhan Shi, Zizhan Zhuang, Zizhan Shi, the natural posture, or Junbei Shi, preparing posture. Standing like this, your feet about shoulders width apart, or feet together. Okay, for a moment you could stand like this. This would be so-called preparatory posture, or just like this. So, first, we are not talking about the position of arms. They are just relaxed, hanging loosely. So, some people would call this posture Wuji Zhuang. In each one, we normally don't use this terminology. Such posture with your arms just hanging down is used as preparatory posture. So before you assume the actual posture for practice, first you prepare for a moment in this Junbei Shi preparatory posture. So generally you're standing with your body straight, but at the same time relaxed. Of course, gradually you're learning more about the relaxation, but even if you don't know much, okay, you just try to stand in such natural way with your body relaxed. Body straight but relaxed. Weight distributed even on both feet. Feet usually like this, so making some angle here. So in some schools they stress parallel position of feet. There are schools where there is practice of toes pointing inward. But the most natural, when you don't tell people how to put their feet, if they didn't practice any Qigong, any Chinese martial art or anything like this, and you just tell them to stand naturally with feet shoulder width apart, this will be the normal position for them. Toes pointing slightly out. Also, the founder of Yiquan, Wang Xiangjai, wrote many times that this is the best for beginner. Of course, later you could practice many different ways, but this is something which is very natural, very suitable for a beginner, but also from the point of view of other training methods, this is very typical. When you stand in so-called combat postures and with your feet in position which we call ding pa bu, okay, they will be at some angle, they will not be parallel. There will be situation when position of feet will be parallel, but most basic, when you don't do anything special, will be okay some angle between your feet. Standing straight. So very often it is said that your spine should be straight. Of course, your spine bone cannot be completely straight all the time. Can be more straightening, more bending at some moments, but generally very natural is some curvature. So not like straight line, but at least in your perception, subjectively, you have this idea of straight line. So you're standing straight, relaxed. Top of your head is as if pulling up. So it's usually said that the byway point, again, in each one usually we don't use this terminology, but in traditional arts they would talk about byway point and way in point on one line. Here generally you have this idea as if supporting something on top of your head, or as if trying, if you are in some room, there is a ceiling and you're trying to reach the ceiling with top of your head. Okay, so here it's pulling up, of course, but without tension, without much force, very slight idea, very slight feeling. At the same time, this area is sinking, it's like sitting down, top of head pulling up, but this area pulling down. So your spine is naturally a little bit stretched without force. Head straight, top of head pulling up doesn't mean this. Very often when you tell beginners to keep head straight, they do this. This is not straight. This is more straight. So we often use idea of a small ball here under your chin. So keeping this ball light, not squeezing it because it's fragile, it will break, but also not letting it fall down. Okay. So your chin a little bit withdrawn, keeping this ball while head is pulling up, the spine is stretched. Here is idea of sitting down. Your knees are slightly bent. Your hips area, your pelvis, your buttocks shouldn't go back, also not too much this way. It should be quite natural position. So when byway and way in are on one line, this is the position. If you don't know much about those concepts, those points, you could imagine that, for example, here is a table and you are as if sitting on the edge of the table. So if you do this, you're not sitting with buttocks out, like this, but slightly in, but not too much. It should be very natural. Another way of understanding this is, you could imagine that there is something heavy on top of your head. Now, if you keep it at the same time trying to stay relaxed, avoiding too much tension, then how to stand? If I'm standing like this, it's not comfortable. Well, body should be straight. Here, like this, not comfortable. Like this, not comfortable. Here, straight. And with your hips like this, buttocks forward, force here, and you will feel a lot of tension. Too much the other way, again, will not feel comfortable. So, the structure for taking this force this way, the best structure will be when your pelvis is somewhere in the middle. Not like this, not too much this way. Relatively natural. So, head pulling up, this area as if sitting down, with your legs slightly bent out, but at the same time try to relax them. Relax, not meaning being completely loose, but usually when we talk about relax, it means removing the part of tension which is completely unnecessary. So, for keeping some posture, okay, some kind of effort is needed, but it can be very relaxed. If you could feel very comfortable, very much relaxed. You could feel that you're not using any force. Of course, some muscles are working, but they don't need to work so much as normally people use them. Tensing too much. So relax means removing the tension which is not necessary. So your knees are slightly bent, body straight, good structure for taking this force to the ground. So it's working with gravitation. But of course legs are not completely relaxed, completely loose. When we talk about relaxed, means they are as much relaxed as possible in given situation, for keeping given posture, for doing some action. So postures and movements, lifting something, okay, you should learn how to do it in the very efficient way without too much tension. Okay, head pulling up, sitting down, legs relaxed. Idea as if sitting on something, could be edge of a table or some wooden stick which is a bit elastic. Okay, so you everywhere develop this idea, this feeling of elasticity. Here, this pulling up is in an elastic way. Sitting down, also this kind of elastic feeling. You could imagine there is some kind of wall behind you which is also elastic, okay, which gives you support from the back. The power coming from back is very important. So this feeling is here important. Wall behind you, you imagine if someone is pushing you, you will not move back because this elastic wall, elastic but strong, will prevent. Between your both legs, have idea as if embracing something. keeping something here. Keeping it lightly, but feel it. Your both legs are as if connected, as if making one, not one leg, the other leg, but through something between them, they feel connected, whole body connected. Okay, here is a small ball, which I was talking about, helping you to keep your head in the right position, shoulders relaxed, arms at the beginning just hanging loosely. This is just for preparation. This is not one of the main postures in which you practice for some longer time. Just Junbeishi for preparation, preparing posture, or when you complete your practice, then put your hands down and for some time you still keep posture, keep the feeling of relaxed, of calm, and the mind before you start moving, you start doing something else. This natural preparatory posture is a basis for next so-called health postures. So this time I will talk about three of them: Tuobao Zhuang, Chengbao Zhuang, and Shuxi Zhuang. First, Tuobao. So you are standing in this natural position, knees slightly bent, so your legs are almost straight, not bending too much because it creates more tension. At the beginning, we focus on relaxing, on removing tension. It's difficult to think about removing tension when there is a lot of effort because of low posture. So gradually you could practice in lower postures, but at the beginning you start from a bit higher postures where it's easier to relax your body. Also, when you practice for some longer time, usually we practice the so-called combat postures lower. And so-called health postures, those when your feet are shoulder width apart, hands somewhere here. In those postures, we tend to stand a bit higher. Why? Because after some time, we use them more for relax, not for intense training. Combat postures will be for more intense training. You become tired practicing those combat postures in lower positions, lower postures, practicing lower postures, then you could have some relaxed standing higher, practicing those less demanding, more basic so-called health postures. So, generally, your body, your legs, the same position, the same ideas, the same feeling, like in this preparatory posture. Okay, I was talking about some ideas. You should gradually develop those feelings and they should become natural. So you don't need to think about it all the time. You don't want to think too much, think too hard. You just think about something, okay, you get the feeling. At the beginning, maybe after a moment you lose this feeling. Okay, but you shouldn't worry too much. Just a bit careless, you don't care too much. This is the right attitude. Trying, but without trying too much. So not try too much. But again, you lost the feeling. You think about, okay, you're getting it back. So, if you want to practice 2/1, you only change the position of your arms to such. Elbows bending a bit more, lifting your palms. There's somewhere here in front of your hips, elbows pointing outward, shoulders relaxed. See, like embracing something around. At the same time, as if keeping something, supporting something with your palms. Like I take something, I lift it and keep it in my arms. Keeping it on my palms, embracing it with my arms, and feeling it with my body. Elbows, not like this. Here would be one circle, here would be another circle, maybe, but there wouldn't be one circle. You want to feel one circle. Elbows outside, a bit as if you were in a narrow corridor and touching the walls with your elbows. Here, idea of embracing something. And at the beginning, you think about embracing something light and fragile, maybe a balloon, maybe a paper ball. Okay. Everywhere here, you feel touching it, embracing it. Not pressing, not squeezing, because you would break it, but not losing this feeling of some light force, because it would fall down or it would escape, maybe wind would blow it away. So you need to keep it light, very light. So it's not like just standing, but standing with this idea of this very small force. This force is close to zero. You relax, you don't want to tense. Okay? But there is some feeling of some activation of your body, not just being completely loose, completely slack. Your armpits are half empty, and also you could imagine some small balls, some small balloons there, keeping them in the same way, not squeezing them, not letting them fall down, not letting them escape. With your fingers, it's the same. They are separated, as if there were some small balls between your fingers, and you're keeping them in the same way, very lightly, not pressing too much, not letting them escape. Between your thumb and your index finger, so this is in traditional arts called hukou, the tiger mouth. Here also roundness, like a little bit bigger ball. Your thumb not like this, but bend. See, so it's demonstrating the roundness. This is 2/1. You're keeping something on your palms, but at the same time you imagine that something is supporting your arms. Maybe you put them on something, maybe it's like they are floating in water. Anyway, you have this idea that you don't need to put effort into keeping them in this position. You think about something supporting them, and immediately you become more relaxed. Your arms becoming more relaxed. You stop using too much effort. Next will be 2/1. We will be standing the same way, like the preparatory posture, like the two-bowed one, lifting, embracing. But now, your arms, your palms are higher. Palms chest level or shoulder level, elbows a bit lower. Some schools, they practice like this. We practice this way, elbow lower, shoulder relaxed, elbow a bit sinking, but at the same time elbows pointing out, just like in this posture. Palms somewhere here in front of your shoulders, fingers separated like before, the same ideas. Balls, balloons under your armpits. Here, idea of embracing. This posture is called Cheng Bao Zhuang. Supporting, embracing, expanding, embracing. This expanding is not very good expression because it suggests some outward movement. But this expanding, this supporting means that you have some force which could be directed outward if there comes force from outside. So this, like you feel it, like a balloon filled with the air or a car tire filled with the air. This kind of idea, this kind of feeling. So this Cheng and Bao. Bao means embracing, and it is said that should be 7 parts of embracing, 3 parts of this expanding or supporting outward idea. So we focus more on embracing, like keeping a balloon inside. Now, if there comes some force from outside, the balloon will take this force. So you don't need to react with typical force. You stay relaxed. Oh, you have this idea that this balloon inside your arm is taking the outside force. So this embracing of this balloon is Bao, embracing, and the reaction against this force coming from outside will be this Cheng, which sometimes we translate expanding, supporting. I don't find better word at this moment. Anyway, when you have this idea of embracing a ball and force coming from outside, the balloon reacting with force going against it. Oh, this is this Cheng force. Arms like here, you keep them higher, but still as if something was supporting them, as if you don't need to use effort to keep them in this position. Here, the angle at your elbow is about 90 degrees. So here the angle is bigger. Here, smaller. And this idea of embracing, of roundness, but it's not regular round balloon. So it's not like this. In this posture, we're standing this way. Palms closer to my body. If I stretch my palm like this, it will be like 1.5 of such stretch palm distance between my palm and my body. So what I embrace is not actually round, it's a bit flat. But if I imagine that I'm inside another ball or balloon. Here. See? This one will be round. So the whole structure going through my back is round. So this is how we practice this posture. And many different arts, they have similar posture, but usually they tend to practice it with bigger angle here, palms farther away from body to feel the roundness here. You feel some kind of roundness here, but actually the regular roundness is here, on outside, going through your back. This is Cheng Bao Zhuang. Xuxi Zhuang is relaxing posture, resting posture. Xuxi, to have some rest, to have some relax, to have some break during work. So very often in China, when there's some lunch break in shops, you see sign saying Xuxi. So, Tuo Bao, Cheng Bao are two very often used postures. And Xuxi Zhuang is when practicing, for example, this or some other exercises, you feel tired, you want to relax more, especially for beginners. Sometimes it's difficult to keep posture for a longer time without tension. So you put your hands lower. Okay, for example, practice here. You could change to this one. But sometimes you could change to this. Xuxi Zhuang. So it's like you have Tuo Bao Zhuang. You turn your palms this way. Your fingers are bent. You have idea of keeping small ball in each of your palms. This way. So at your elbow, the angle is the same as Tuo Bao Zhuang. And you put your wrist somewhere here on your hip, on your buttock, a bit on the side, a bit on the back, here. Not like this, somewhere here. So now your arm have some real support, so it's easier to relax your arms, to relax your shoulder. So for some time you could keep this posture before you move back to other exercises. Some important things. The point of contact with your body is here on your wrist, not on back of your palm, like this. See, because this way it would create some kind of joint lock, tension in your wrist. So point of contact is here. So your wrist is bent a little bit, but it's relaxed, not here. So take care about this. Point of contact here on your wrists. One more thing is sometimes people, especially those who practice some Chinese art, practice some Qigong, they're asking if you're putting your palms here on your kidneys. This is not what we teach in Yiquan. This is not what Wang Xiangjai was talking about. The idea here is not putting your hands on your kidneys, but here lower with bigger angle so your arms are a little bit bent but quite straight. They could be quite relaxed. And the main idea of this exercise is just in similar posture have some support. So you can relax your arms, you can relax your shoulders. There's no talking about kidneys here. Also, this is not one of the standard exercises, but it was mentioned by Andrzej, by his daughter Yiquan. Many people, especially those who practice for health, do some variants where you could, for example, put your palms, 4 fingers in the pocket, only thumb is outside. Okay, see, you also have some support here, so it's easier to relax, keeping your elbows a bit outward. Okay. So this is also some variant of sushi, or here, I use my belt, putting my thumbs inside. Okay. Another variant of posture. So at the same time, here you have support. It's easy to relax your shoulders, but at the same time your elbows pointing outward. So you have this idea of roundness. I started from very basic introduction to the 3 postures, health postures, Tuo Bao Zhuang, Cheng Bao Zhuang, and Sushi Zhuang. I was talking mostly about the outside form, although there was some mind activity, there was some idea, embracing something, head pulling up, here idea of sitting down, roundness, elasticity, okay, but now a bit more about 意念活动, mind activity, where the most basic thing will be using your mind activity to relax your mind and body, to calm down, to help to empty your mind, to 排除杂念, get rid of those disturbing, unnecessary, too many thoughts. So we are using some mind activity to achieve those results, but this is also learning some basics of mind activity affecting your body, which will help you with some more advanced things, developing this Hunyuan Li, unified whole body around strength, or so-called internal strength. But first, you focus on relax, focus, and calmness, not thinking too much, a bit of making your mind empty. So that's a bit paradox. You will use some mind activity, you will be thinking about something to get rid of thinking, but this thinking, this imagining something here will be, if we're talking about this goal of relaxing and calming your mind, will be used mostly as kind of tool. So you will use this, but not need to use it if it's not necessary. From another point of view, it's important to learn this to achieve some result, because it will be important for other parts of your training. But from the point of view just of relaxing and calming your mind, if you can just stand, take the posture, and enter the state of relaxed calmness, natural focus, then you don't actually need to occupy your mind with some mind activity. Of course, for a beginner, entering this state is not that easy usually. So we're using some methods which will help with achieving this goal. Usually it's imagining something nice, calm, soft, gentle. So it gives you good mood, good feeling, helps you to relax. You're achieving a good mood, nice mood. Some slight smile can appear on your face, so-called seashell or facial, as if smile, not smile. This way it will be easier to forget about all those things, matters of everyday life about which you're thinking all the time. It will be easier to enter this state of tranquility. But it's just some tools. You use them at some moment, at some stage, and you don't think too much about them. You move further, you move deeper. You don't need to take all those tools with you. They will not be needed anymore. You will move to next stages. So I will give some examples, because we usually when teaching we are giving students some examples of those images which help with relaxing and calming mind. But those are just examples. It's not that you need to learn and master them, but you try them. Check if they're working for you. If one is not working too well for you, try another of those examples. Or maybe you yourself can create better method, some images which will work better for you, because you know yourself better than your teacher. You know what makes you relaxed. Even people for whom relaxing might be difficult, they still can have some memories of situations maybe many years ago when they were young, when they were feeling so much relaxed. So even remembering such a situation, remembering this feeling, could be helpful for them. Maybe it will work better than any of those ideas given by teacher. But anyway, some examples. So it's good to practice in some beautiful, nice place. Okay, you look around. Oh, how nice, how beautiful place. Oh, I feel like taking the posture. Oh, and I just keep it without thinking too much. If it feels comfortable, if you relax, if your mind is calm, And it's okay, you don't need to think too much. You lose this state, you start tensing, you start thinking about some other things. Okay, you notice this? Oh, no need to worry about all those things. Oh, it's so nice here. Now it's my time for just doing this, here and now. If you are not in such a beautiful place, then you can imagine this. Practicing Cheng Bao Zhuang, Tuo Bao Zhuang, Xu Xi Zhuang, any of those postures. You could imagine that you are in some beautiful park, beautiful garden, even something like Paradise Garden. It's really beautiful, it's really calm, it's a lot of green, but there are also some colorful flowers that you can smell the beautiful scent of those flowers. And the birds are singing beautifully. Oh, how nice! You're so close to the nature. Even if you are not, you are in your apartment, in your room. You could imagine this. Some birds are singing, some you can see on branches of the trees, on the grass. It's sunny and warm, but not too hot, so it feels very pleasant. There is some light wind which is moving your hair, moving your clothes, even touching your body, your skin, stroking your body slightly, moving the hair on your body, making you feel more and more relaxed. Don't try to think too hard. Don't try to visualize something. It's like to thinking for a moment about something, getting some idea, some image to induce some nice feeling inside your body, inside your mind. You have this, it's easier to enter the state of tranquility. So this is important. Relax and tranquility. And all those images, all those nice feelings are something which help you. But don't focus too much of them. The deeper you go, the less you need all those methods. Another example could be there is some lake in the park, and maybe there is a boat there, and you are standing on the board of the boat. Water is moving slightly, the boat is moving. Your body is also moving slightly with it. It shouldn't be big movement, the smaller the better. But it's not just standing in very fixed position. It's very natural. It's so-called movement and non-movement. Or you could imagine that you yourself are in water, like standing in water, arms floating in water, lower part of your body as if being heavy, so keeping you stable, heavy but relaxed, but upper part of your body as if floating in water. Water is moving you lightly, massaging your body, making you feel more and more relaxed. To enter this state, you don't need to imagine. You lose this state, okay, maybe again try to imagine a little bit to get the feeling which will help you to enter this state. Maybe, if talking about water, maybe you imagine taking shower. So it's not really visualization of the shower, but just for a moment think, as if I was taking shower, the drops of water falling on my body and water flowing downward, massaging my body. It's pleasantly warm, making me feel comfortable. Okay. You use this idea to get this feeling, nice feeling, which helps you to relax and calm, to tranquilize your mind. Maybe there is some nice piece of music which you like, calm music which makes you relaxed when you listen to it. Okay, you could sometimes, especially being a beginner, listen to this music when you practice, or at some moment you could imagine, I can hear this nice music, and remember the feeling which listening to this music will usually give you. So it's some example, some other. Maybe the sea, maybe mountains. Sometimes just the idea of looking at the sea, hearing the sound of the waves. Okay, maybe it feels nice. Maybe it will help you. Sometimes thinking about being in the mountains, maybe during the summer, maybe during the winter when there is snow. Okay, how nice. Remember a situation when you actually went on vacation and you were forgetting about your job, about everyday matters, just having nice time. Sometimes there's a lot of thoughts coming to your mind. For some beginners, this may be more problem. Okay, for some, tension in the body, but for some, maybe too many thoughts all the time thinking about something. So, if it's like some thoughts about those everyday matters, about your job, maybe, then imagine that you went on vacation. And went to some place very far away. So you leave everything behind you. You go to Himalaya mountains, climb the Mount Everest maybe, and practice on the top of Mount Everest, far away from everything. Maybe you imagine you go to Southern Pacific, some southern seas. You maybe dreamed about this all your life. Okay, now imagine you are there, okay, and very far away from your job, from all everyday matters. Then you might use a way described by Andrzej which he called attracting the thoughts. It's like using the force of a thought against the thought. The stronger the thought, the easier it will be to defeat. So it's like you're standing and imagine you have a big pot with hot water. And the thoughts are like snowflakes. Okay, the snow falling down, the snowflakes are coming, wind is moving them around. Some become very strong. So those thoughts which become strong are those snowflakes which came close. When they come close to this pot with hot water, what will happen? They will melt. So if you notice those strong thoughts, think about them as snowflakes which come close to the pot with hot water. So they are melting, you are dissolving them. So those are just some examples. You can use them, but also knowing a little bit about yourself, about what makes you relax, what makes you forget about everyday matters, all the thoughts. Use this. Use your own knowledge, design your own ideas, your own mind activity, which will help. Apart from those mind activities which help you to relax, which help you to calm your mind, there are some which we call more li, feeling force, feeling strength. So it's using some ideas which help you to develop this Hunyuan Li, this unified force, this so-called unified force, unified strength, so-called internal strength. So first, relaxing body and mind is important, because without this it's difficult to practice some more advanced things in an efficient way. So at the beginning you put a lot of effort, of course without effort it's like you just spend more time, a lot of time on gradually trying to become more relaxed, more calm, being able to focus on something without thinking about other things. So this is what you're doing first, but then gradually you want to work on developing this Hunyuan Li, the force, the way of using your body, typical for each one, typical for other arts, to especially so-called internal arts. In most Yiquan schools, Mo Li or Mo Jir, it is also called, is something what they practice with so-called combat postures. Because it's thinking about some forces and it's thinking about some resistance. So when you just start, it might be not very good idea, because it will make you tense. So at the beginning you learn to relax before you can start work with idea of some resistance, gradually bigger and bigger. So in health postures, usually in most schools they don't do Mo Li, They do it in so-called combat posture. But in your school, we do some kind of more lead also in health postures. Only this is very relaxed way of practicing more lead. So it's easier to keep relaxed. And for many people, beginning people, even practicing this way helps with relax. But if some people will find that it makes them tense, then at the beginning they shouldn't put too much attention to this. They shouldn't do too much of this. They should focus on those ideas, pleasant ideas, which make them relax. But you could also try this kind of very simple molding. And first, some preparatory way of practice is something which will not make you tense, will make you more relaxed in most cases, because you don't think about resistance at all, but you think about some force. But about force, not overcoming some resistance, but force moving your body. So you could practice it. 2-bar drum, 10-bar drum, some other postures. Usually at the beginning we don't practice Moli in Shushi drum. Later you could also do this in Shushi, but at the beginning Shushi drum is used just for relaxing without thinking about forces, about strength. First, we will do it in 2-bar drum and 10-bar. Standing like before, with idea of standing in water. Legs as if heavy, so keeping stable. Upper part of your body as if floating in water. This position or this position. And you are standing, okay, feeling nice, relaxed. Then water starts flowing. So I can imagine that water is flowing this way, pushing me from behind. So first, there's idea of flow of water. So it starts in your mind from some idea, from intention, will, E. It's E, the idea of some flow, water flow. The next thing will be feeling. What kind of feeling? If you are standing in water and water starts flowing, you will start feeling that it's pushing you, that it's moving your body. It's very slow movement. Okay, but there is some movement. But movement is the third thing. First, there is mind. Second, this intention, idea, intent. Second is feeling, and the movement is result of the feeling. You don't just move like you typically move in your life, but you have this feeling that some energy. So people talk about chi, feeling of chi, of some energy moving. So water is flowing, there appears this force pushing you, and you let this force move your body. You should have this feeling, this idea that I don't move, that some outside force is moving my body. slowly, several seconds. Your weight shifted forward, more toward toes of your feet. Then you stop for at least several seconds where you're not doing anything. It's like basic posture, but this time with more weight on front part of your foot. After several seconds, start imagining that water is slowly flowing opposite way back. If water is flowing, what would you feel? You would feel some pressure. What would be the result of this? The result of this would be movement of your body. Slowly, 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 several seconds, and stop when weight is closer to your hips. Stop again several seconds, and then repeat this. Could be in Bao Zhuang, could be in Cheng Bao Zhuang. Very slowly. Not just moving, but trying to feel that this flow, this force from outside, this energy, this chi is moving. This is very important part of practice, because this is something typical for internal art, especially in Tai Chuan. This always talking about mind leading the chi moving body. So here you have something similar. So this is the way of practicing Mo Li, of practicing Shi Li, the moving exercises, where you're not just making the movement, but your mind is leading this, is creating some feeling of some force, of some strength, of some power, of some energy, and this energy is moving your body, and you just let your body follow this flow. Very important, but you need to be careful, because very often people who develop this feeling can be easily deceived by some people, because it's very easy for them to create this feeling. Also, some other people can induce this feeling in them by some gesture, make them feel this energy, and they start believing that someone has very big power, which is able to move people, and they start thinking that also maybe objects, he would be able to push car or something like this with this incredible kind of energy, while this is kind of illusion. Because see, this is illusion. I imagine water pushing me when I feel. I let this illusion move my body. But this is okay when I'm aware of this. The problem starts when people start believing too much in such things, that this is some real energy which can move objects. So this is feeling, and feeling can be illusory. Like I feel like water is pushing me, but I'm not in water, and there is no flow in water. So I create this feeling, which is kind of illusion. This is similar illusion like sometimes you are on a train, on a station, and in some moment you can see through the window that, and you can feel at the same time with your body. So seeing some movement outside and feeling it with your body, that your train started moving, while actually it's illusion. You see the other train moving, but it's in your body there is feeling as if really your train started moving, while there's no reason for this feeling in your body. This is kind of illusion. So this is something similar, but these illusions, those feelings of qi, can be very useful for coordinating your mind with your body, unless you become too naive and you start to believe in some energies. After you practice for a moment in this way, just water moving your body. You're not moving, so you could be completely relaxed. Try to be as much as relaxed as possible, not using your own force. Only use this idea of water, of this energy moving you. After you practice this way for some time, you could try something a bit more complex. When one force energy is moving you, another will try to stop this move. So it's like water flowing, pushing you from behind. Your body starts moving forward, but imagine that the mass of water which is in front of you creates resistance. So everywhere on front side of your body and on your arm, you feel some resistance. One force pushing you, another force trying to stop you. It's not big enough to stop you, but it's making the movement slower, still slower than what we did, and smaller. So the movement will be very small, very short. We start now. Before I was talking moving toward toes, toward heels, could be quite big movement. Now the movement will be shorter. The weight is somewhere in the middle. Okay, I move just a little bit back. Okay, it's like 55% in back, 45% in front. Then with the forward movement, water pushing and keep it slowly, several seconds. Now it's opposite. 55% on front part of the foot. So very small change. Stop. When stop, just like standing in water, feeling nice, relaxing. Then you still trying to keep relaxed. Try to think that you are not active. This way it will be easier to remove unnecessary tension. Just think that it's outside forces, it's not you. Just one force is moving you, another creating some resistance, but you are not trying to do something with your muscles, but just let those forces play with your body. And you're trying to stay as much relaxed as possible. And gradually, what you want to achieve. You want to make this feeling very unified, the same amount of force everywhere. So at the beginning, it's like you maybe feel some pressure of water is pushing you, but you focus on some part of your body feeling pressure there and not on other parts of your body. But then gradually you try to feel it everywhere. And hold back side of your body, here on your arms, here in this position. The same amount of force everywhere. And with the force on the other side, the one which is creating resistance, is the same. not there is force somewhere and no feeling in some other part, or bigger feeling of bigger force somewhere and smaller in some other part, but try to make it gradually. Of course, it needs some time. Don't worry, don't hurry. Gradually, try to make it the same amount of force everywhere. Then stop. Forces disappear. Then one appears pushing you, and at the same time the resistance appears on the other side. You also trying to make this force stable, steady, the movement steady, the same speed all the time. It's not like the force bigger and movement faster than the slower, but throughout the whole short movement, the amount of force is not changing, the speed is not changing. Then stop, of course. Then start in opposite direction. But when moving, this very short movement, the speed not changing, the force not changing. Now, the size of this movement is very small, so there's this expression, movement in non-movement. But at advanced level, it's very short, almost not movement. It's like standing, movement in non-movement, like trying to start movement, but not really starting, just starting but not continuing. But this is at a bit higher level, and at the beginning we are starting from movements which are relatively short. So I was talking about shifting weight, so something like 55% on back side, on back part of my foot, to 55% on front. So it's all around 5-5, very small change. Here the movement 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters. Usually at the beginning we are talking about 2 centimeters in one direction. Stop. Then slowly, 2 centimeters back, and feeling each point of this movement. Not just moving. This is what happens very often, but for beginners it might be not so easy. For some, even this 2 centimeters is something which it's difficult to feel, so they start making very big movements instead of 2 centimeters, 10 or 20 centimeters. So first, try not to make it too big. If it's bigger, make it shorter. Not 20 or 10 centimeters, but 5 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters is something which we usually use for beginners, not only in this exercise, but there will be next exercises with more complex ways of Mo-Li, where you shouldn't try to make the movement too short, because you will not be able to make it. It will be too difficult. So at the beginning, let's make movement in postures in Mo-Li practice 2 centimeters. Doesn't need to be exactly 2 centimeters, something like 2 centimeters, or maybe 1 inch, something like this, to have this idea. Okay. So first, working with such movement. Don't try make it shorter yet, because there will be more complex ways of Mo-Li, where apart from the main direction there will be additional directions, and those additional directions, the movements will be shorter. So if you make the main direction too short, then you will not be able to feel those additional directions. They will become too short. So if main movement will be 2 centimeters, then it will be easier to practice those additional directions about which I will talk in next lessons. Generally, today I just introduced those 3 basic postures. In those 2 we practiced Mo-Li, but very basic method of Mo-Li. Gradually we will keep introducing some other postures, health postures, then also combat postures, and with them I will introduce next more complex methods, ways of Mo-Li. Of course, when you learn them, also those basic postures from which we started could be practiced with those bit more advanced methods of Mo-Li.